So we'll just get
Yeah.
rolling. I'm new to your band, but you're a new band. So you guys just
Makes
released
sense.
a new album this year.
Two islands in the sun, bitter cold and weather warm, sinking solace from the tide.
Age of Distraction. Album is called A Game of Whispers. So my first question is, are you guys a proper band or is this a project?
I think initially when the band first started out, you would have it was probably conceived as a project. As things have evolved, I think we've kind of molded more into a proper band in time on the basis of, we kind of the as we went through the creation of the album, we creatively as a band, we really hit it off. I think we all kind of move in the same direction. All of our influences kind of feed through nicely into what you hear on the album. And, as I say, generally with projects, you find it's a collaboration of musicians, that hit for a one-time deal and move on. I certainly think that we've got legs to go longer, than the single album. So, yeah, what started as a project has certainly evolved into a kind of full band.
Yeah, it has the spine of John's writing, but it's also glued together by Don Benison's production, by Mark Gatland's bass. And I don't think we knew at the outset that I would be singing as the lead vocalist, but it transpired that way. And then we've got the core four members that form Age of Distraction. So we realised, we're all pulling in the same direction. This is a band, and we'll release a debut.
So when you say you're moving in the same direction or pulled in the same direction, what is that? How would you verbalize what that is?
Certainly a signature to your writing, isn't there, John? Like you've got a style that threads its way through the album. Helps that you're a very versatile guitarist, of course. But I sort of hear your grooves, and I know, that's a piece of John Cook music. That's gonna drive the Age of Distraction sound.
Yeah, I think also what we kind of figured really early on was, even though everyone was doing their own pieces independently, remotely, we all live throughout the UK, so we're not blessed with being, next door to each other or anything like that. So even though everyone was doing their own pieces remotely on their own studio and then sending them in, it was almost as if, you couldn't. The guys wrote the material that already sounded like Age of Distraction, and it's not often that happens. I don't find, you get bands who were all in the same room together who, continually write stuff that almost sounds separate from each other. And I think, me referencing us all pulling in the same direction is definitely that kind of that signature. Charlie references to my signature style, but each contributor to the album seemed to straight off the bat know what they were writing, and it kind of had that feel and sound that we were looking for very early on. And then Dom, who did the drums, also did all the production, just beautifully knitted it all together. And the end result that you hear on the album, we couldn't be happier with it. I think it's really cohesive as an album. It flows so well when you listen to it, and to say that we pretty much wrote all of that for remotely throughout the space of maybe 6 months, to have something come together that the end result is what you hear. I'm super proud of it, and I know the guys are, and I think the feedback that we have is testament to that as well.
Yeah, jumping in on that, I think it was very easy to create together, which almost jumps back to the first question about, is this a project or a band? We knit together really well. We almost by accident have a lot of the same musical influences that we brought into this particular album, which I think is how Dom was able to make the production sound so coherent, because we were all pulling from the same well. almost intuitively. It's amazing when that happens, and we had an awful lot of fun creating it. So even though it wasn't written in a rehearsal room together, it's almost like it was.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you say fun, in what sense is it fun?
When you hear a really exciting piece of music that enthuses you, you just go in with those positive vibes straight away. It's not a chore to have to create something against that musical backdrop. And as you're bouncing those ideas and sharing what you've worked on with one another, little in-jokes start to creep in, and a language unique to Age of Distraction that we probably couldn't elucidate on a call like this because it wouldn't make any sense to anyone. But you develop a shorthand, a way of talking with one another that happens almost organically. It's really nice.
That's interesting. I mean, forming a band is not an easy thing to. I mean, you can form a band easily, just put up an ad and put some people together in a room, but it's very rare. Speaking as a musician too, who's been in many bands over the years, it's really rare when you get a really nice combination where everything sits nicely and everyone's just comfortable together. I'm new to the band, of course. I've listened to the album in the last 24 hours, and I'm still listening to it more. I want to do a proper review of it. You mentioned the word exciting. That came to me too. The music is exciting. I got into prog just before the 80s, so I mostly enjoyed the 80s prog. I had no big issues with it. I thought a lot of it prog in the 80s. So this to me, it reminded me a little of Rush 80s, and also kind of leaning into Dream Theater as more metal kind of vibe. Is that kind of, does that surprise you that I would say that, or what do you guys say about those influences?
No, I would totally agree. I mean, I'm not particularly a Rush fan. I know a little, from I've been playing guitar for over 30 years, and I've learned little bits and bats across that time of Rush. Certainly not the things that people say. Have you heard this by Alex Lifeson? And you go and check it out and you learn it and whatnot. But I was never particularly a fan. But I'm a huge Dream Theater fan, and obviously Dream Theater were influenced by Rush, so it kind of cascades through there, doesn't it? And I think any reference to that type of certainly to Dream Theater is music to my ears, because it's as much as one thing I tried to do when I was writing the album was I didn't think overly much around the creation of the song. So I wasn't ever looking for a particular style or trying to lean into any of my influences, because I wanted to keep it as organic and as kind of natural as I could, just to see how that flowed. So I think there's a little bit of there's some variety on there that maybe you wouldn't naturally see, but I think how Dom's produced it means that it flows really nice. But certainly, Dream Theater are a massive influence of mine. John Petrucci's, up there with one of my favorite guitar players. So, although, any reference to that, you're going to see a big smile on my face.
Yeah. And I come more from like the sort of 70s, 80s prog, listening to Genesis and Marillion a lot, and that's probably where my vocal influences come in the most. But I also love that heavier side of the prog world. Yeah, bands like Dream Theater, like Devin Townsend. We've got some Devin choirs on the album that Dom's embedded in there. We've got Pain of Salvation influences, something John and I talked a lot about during, kind of before the creation of the album, really. Just sort of we were chatting online about what kind of things make us tick. When these songs presented themselves, it was certainly an opportunity for me to go in a slightly heavier direction than what I'm used to doing with my other band, Ghost of the Machine, which is where I'd released music as a vocalist elsewhere.
And of course, I've done a reaction video to Ghost of the Machine.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew right away when I heard about this new band and that connection. I thought, okay, I've got some knowledge of somebody in the band. That's good. You guys are in UK, and of course, the United Kingdom. is to me almost the center of the universe as far as music goes. I mean, obviously there's been other places, and lately too, there's been really strong music coming out of even Norway and Scandinavian countries and stuff. When I think about it, I always think, no, it's the United Kingdom. It really seems to have the beating heart. So how does it feel to you? Do you feel like you have a higher bar to reach because you're English, or
Um, I wouldn't say so. Certainly not for me personally. It's a funny one with this album. It was never even kind of before me and Charlie even started working together when I originally thought about doing something. So I was in another band at the time, and I had some material that probably didn't suit them. But it was never, it was never about trying. It was never even about trying to achieve anything. It was just I love the creative process, and I don't ever look around about what anyone else is doing, or I've got all my own influences, and I listen to tons of music, but it was all just about having fun and going through that creative process with like-minded musicians, and hopefully you get to the end of it and you've got an album that ticks all the boxes for what you wanted to achieve. If people like it after that, then brilliant. If they didn't, it was never about that. It was all just about me and the boys having fun and doing the best with the material that we had, and it exceeded all our expectations. I'm sure Charlie will back me up there, and so with the other guys. That we started with Compromise, that was literally just me and Charlie, and we knew that it was probably something a little bit more than just a home studio recording, should we say. So we got the other guys involved, and then very quickly from there it escalated into what you hear. So I was never thinking, or I never referenced to other bands or our position within. It doesn't interest me. I just like to produce music, and if people like it, great. If they don't, you can't please everybody, and it's more around, if we've done the best with the material that we've got, then that's where I wanted to be with it, and we over exceeded by far what we ever could have, I think, achieved in the short time frame that we did. We pretty much turned the album around in 6 months remotely, with me being the primary writer and the guys kind of tagging on, and they've all got busy home lives and other musical projects as well. So I think it's a testament to those guys for being so proficient at what they do, to be able to turn everything around so quickly. But yeah, back to the original thing, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. I'll just do the best with our material, and that's all I can do. Anything that's within my control.
Yeah, it's lovely when you read these reviews and you get name checked with some of your favorite bands. It's great when that happens, and it's even cooler when it sort of comes out the organic process of just hearing a piece of the new song from John and singing something over it.
And what are your
it's
influences, Charlie? Just curious what your musical influences are, as well as in your singing work as well.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've probably learned from over the years is like Peter Gabriel and Fish, and very theatrical kind of performers. I'm not the world's most technical singer, but I like to give a sense of performance. I want to convey some emotions and stories to the listener. And in fact, relatively speaking, I'm mid-30s now, and I only started singing in like covers bands about 10 years ago. And before that, I'd been an actor on the stage. So I think I'm trying to bring some of that theatrical background into not just stage shows, but in the recording studio as well. So yeah, the likes of Peter Gabriel, he's my goat. He's my all-time hero. I'd love to aspire to that level of creativity and theatricality.
John, what are your guitar influences?
I'm a shredder by heart, so you go back to the guys that I grew up listening to, and I still do now. Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert, Jason Becker, Richie Kotzen, all those type of guys were my kind of early influences. So when I first got into, probably from being about 30, I've been playing guitar since I was 10. So when I heard those guys, certainly when I heard Passion and Warfare by Steve Vai when I was 13, was the kind of turning point when you realise that I'd heard a lot of good guitar music, people doing good guitar solos within a band context. And then when you hear something that is instrumental and so creative and so technically advanced, but still has a lot of musicality like Passion and Warfare did, that kind of it opens your eyes to a whole new level of technical guitar playing. So from there, I just followed that rabbit hole wherever it took me. And, over the years, listening to countless shredders, I try to maybe, as much as I still love all that style of stuff, I'm probably, taming that a little bit in my old age. I say old age, I'm not that old, but you kind of realize that it doesn't have to be 10,000 notes every minute. So it's about the note choice and so on and so forth. But yeah, going back to the original questions, I'm fairly standard when it comes to, all my favorite players from when I first started out. They're all the ones that you'd expect to hear. And then I kind of followed that route into instrumental guitar playing with your Tony McAlpines and those type of guys, all the guys off the Shrapnel label, Michael Lee Firkins and Sean Lane, and yeah, the list goes on and on. But yeah, predominantly, and then John Petrucci. When I first heard Dream Theater, was from a technical point of view, I religiously used to play his stuff. I used to watch his instructional videos, and that was my every evening for years, just doing those 16th note triplet alternate picked runs. And yeah, it's, as I say, fairly boring and fairly standard, but yeah, all the guys that you'd expect to hear someone kind of reel off, they're all my heroes.
So I want to take my hat off though about a solo on the album. I think it's the second album or second song on the album called "Break My Bones." Is that the one? Yeah, the guitar.
Yes.
I appreciate guitar solos, and I recognize how in the '80s guitar solos were becoming less fashionable. In the '90s, they disappeared.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that solo you wrote there is amazing. I mean, honestly, it's one of those. I was listening to it and I was really enthralled. I was going, "This is something great." It wasn't about how technical it was, because you mentioned that you don't want to overemphasize the technicality of something. You're honoring the melody of the song, and so this solo really served the song. I haven't heard a guitar solo that great in a long time, and I mean that
wow.
honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. How do you look at guitar solos?
Well, like I kind of just mentioned, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, it would have been about number of notes and, how many sweet picked arpeggios you could get in there. As well. When I was writing the solos for the album, it was all about what could enhance the song rather than, like you've just said, and enhance my ego. It doesn't matter if I want somebody to watch how fast I can do legato. I'll just do a video of just doing scales. But when I approached all of the solos on the album, there was only one thing in mind, and that was, what did the song need? I mean, if you look at the title track, A Game of Whispers, it's heavy, it's rocking. You would have expected a guitar solo in there, but we purposely didn't. I just felt actually I would have been putting a guitar solo into that song just for the sake of having a solo, as heavy as it is, and rocking and stuff like that. So when I was doing the solos on the album, it was very much driven by the story that song had told. And, I wanted some flashy bits, but you referenced Break My Bones there. And, that bit for me was all around the outro of the guitar solo where we're all playing in unison. So you've got the staccato drums and the bass and the rhythm guitars, and then I'm playing over the top. And I think that pulls it doesn't feel like a guitar solo, it feels like a piece of music. And that's what I wanted the solos to be. I didn't want them to just kind of sit, fly over the top of the music. I wanted them to be embedded. I wanted people to hear them and almost be able to sing them as if they were melodies, because I think sometimes, and look, I've been guilty of this 1,000,001 times in my life, but if you're just playing fast, it might sound good, but nobody, gets to the end of that song and thinks, has that in their head for the rest of the days. Where a well thought out solo with, and don't get me wrong, I don't. When I do the solos, I'll do a number of takes to get a feel for where I want to go with it, and then I'll just kind of go for it and say that pretty much will be the one. So I don't overproduce them, I don't over record them. I want them to kind of have the fluidity of, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm aiming for, but not to be too rigid and kind of structured to that point where it just sounds like an exercise. So I kind of like that middle ground on it, and that's the way that I approach the majority of the solos on the album. I know how I wanted it to feel, and I wrote kind of positions within the solo where I needed to. I was aiming on for this note, for that note, for melodic reasons, and then linking the pieces in between. So it's kind of telling a story. And I know, I've probably stole that from many a guitar player who's done interviews before, but that's how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to feel like it was going somewhere, and then there was a start, a middle, and an end, and then you're back into the song, or the song finishes. So that was my approach.
Interesting. We could do a whole video almost just on guitar solos as we get talking about this.
Get it back on the channel.
Absolutely.
So Charlie, so let's talk a bit about the vocals. Are there harmony? I don't remember now. Are there harmonies on the album, or is anyone else in the band doing harmonies?
There's quite a lot of harmony vocal on this album, and if you've listened to Ghost of the Machine, Scissor Games, as I know you have, that album is one that can be recreated pretty much live, so there's not a lot of harmony vocal on it. And one thing I consciously wanted to do with Age of Distraction is to test myself, test my writing, do things that I'm not doing elsewhere, right? So adding more harmony vocals was a big part of that goal. Now, I'm quite comfortable writing a lead melody line for a song. I tend not to run into any roadblocks there, but hearing the harmony lines isn't my specialist skill. It's not something I've done a lot of. And that's where our good friend Dom was a real asset to us, because he has incredible vision, superb ear. And the three of us, John, Dom, and I, would be in the recording studio together working on these backing parts, and it really filled out, added to that cinematic production, I think, and let a lot of the moments on the album really pop in the way that we were aiming for. So that was quite exciting for me to hear that all come together. And indeed, some of these ideas that Dom had pushed my voice into previously unknown territories. So I'd quite often be recording these parts, like the falsetto octave double in the second verse of Sneak Attack, and I've been making faces and offensive gestures behind Dom's back at the same time as singing them, because they were just it was challenging, but it's fun if it's challenging, isn't it?
Yeah. So you don't sing falsetto much? Is that what it is?
No, I don't. I have quite a weedy falsetto because I don't use it very much, and I've not focused on it much in singing lessons previously. But it was exactly the right technique that would enhance that particular part of that particular song. So we worked on it. We did it. We did a few takes, and it gelled well in the mix, and we kept it. It was great, actually.
Yeah.
Really fun.
And Dom, I had a look at a link to Dom, and it looks like he's running his own recording studio.
Yeah, he's a producer. Yeah. That's one of his
so that's his gig.
Income.
Yeah. And so what other musicians are involved in the album? Obviously, there's the bass player. The bass playing is really good, actually. I was enjoying the bass playing. All the musicianship in the band's really good. Like, everything is really nice. But you've also got guests. You got. Do you have a keyboardist, or is that just a fill-in position? Or
keys came from a few sources. A few of the keys were done by Dom. A few of the keys were done by Mark Gatland, the bassist. He's prone to adding a few bits of ear candy as well. And we have my good friend Ruby Jones guesting on a couple of tracks. She plays on the piano on the Uninvited, the opening track. And she also plays on Take Me Down with, which also has Phil Stuckey as the guest lead vocalist on that.
And Ruby Jones, I looked up quickly too, the link to her, but I wasn't sure if it was the same Ruby Jones, or isn't it Ruby Jones who's like a singer-songwriter? Is that the same artist you're talking about?
She's in a band, well, a duo called the Exotic Isis Project.
Okay, it must be someone else then. That's the challenge of the internet is sometimes like I don't know why bands pick a name that other bands have because you have no excuse nowadays. You can just search up the name, and if there's another band, you have to change your band name on it. Okay, so we're talking a little bit about the other musicians who helped out, and Dom played drums. It wasn't programmed drums; it was real drums, right? Yeah,
Real drums.
he's an excellent drummer.
He's a killer drummer.
He's an
Yeah.
excellent everything, to be honest.
hmm
He really is.
Yeah,
Good to have on the team then.
yeah.
Yeah,
He can
he
play
does.
guitars. He can sing as well. He doesn't sing on this album, but he can pretty much do anything that you ask of him. He's one of those annoying, talented creatives.
Yeah, yeah.
But we
And
love him.
would you say that this album is a concept album, or is it more a collection of tunes that sort of have a theme, or what would you say about the album?
Yeah, it's more the latter. It's a collection of songs that we knew that we wanted an overarching theme within the album, and that's lyrically knits it all together, and the titles of the songs and that type of thing. It was never written as a concept album, and we kind of tried it before it went off for mastering to kind of see how it'd fit by having it as just one large piece of music without the gaps, for the kind of defined stops at the end of each track. But it certainly works better the way that it is. But yeah, it is the cohesiveness and of sound is through Dom's production. The connection lyrically, and it is a conscious effort from us, from mainly Charlie and then myself on a couple of tracks to ensure that the themes are naturally sitting together. But that's as close as it gets. It was never conceived as a concept.
Yeah, but I think it still does have a nice ebb and flow to it. I think we got the track ordering right. I hope that comes across to the listener. The idea is to take you on a journey through these songs and these themes, with peaks and troughs and moments to catch your breath before you get blown away by another searing riff or massive solo.
No, I think it did. I haven't listened to the album more than twice, so I have to hear it a few more times. But it did have a flow. It's certainly in the end, it sort of relaxed a little. It got some more intimate or quiet. So because I guess going, I don't know how many minutes it's in total the album is. What's about 50 minutes or something, or
Around that ballpark.
53 and a bit.
yeah. So that's pretty
53 and a
long.
half, something.
So you do have a physical CD that you sell. There it
We
is.
do
Okay,
indeed.
yeah, you showed
There
it.
it is.
Yeah,
You can buy it primarily from gravitydream.co.uk, Robin Armstrong's storefront. But I know that it's in the hands of stores the world over.
cool.
It is indeed.
And what can you say about the artwork? Did you guys all kind of collaborate and decide, oh yeah, we like that for an art for the album, or how did that work?
How to put it? I went shopping, I guess. I put an advert out in a fairly well-known kind of professionals brokerage, I guess you could call it, where people post on that I am looking for X, Y, and Z, and then people say, I can do this. It's something I've used in the past through work before, and I thought I'd give it a go. Charlie's more than capable of doing some fairly good artwork, but we wanted something that kind of fitted the production and the time and effort that had gone into the album. So we went external on it, and I got loads and loads and loads of people offering and saying, this is what I can do. And the moment that and Charlie, I always pass to Charlie to say her name because I don't want to misspeak and say it incorrectly. Charlie, what's our lady's name?
She's called Angela Vujic, and she
you
is very talented, and she produced this wonderful piece for us. I don't know how well that shows up on camera.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's
I'll-
just magical.
I'll plug it in there on the screen too, so a little more higher definition. So
Yeah, please.
what's the meaning then about the name of the band and the name of the album? Because of course the name of the band, Age of Distraction, it's very relevant. It sounds right when I hear that. Can there possibly be a more appropriate phrase that describes our age in a way.
Sorry, I just need to check my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's the age we live in. You know, I have four children. I have two sets of twins, so I've got two 11-year-olds, two 16-year-olds, and you know, seeing the age that they're growing up in, and trying to kind of secure enough of their time that they spend with me, or you know, with me and my wife, or when there's so many distractions out there. And I think the distraction is evolving and growing, and you know, it's not kids, it's people of all ages, and it you know, there's not just, you know, I'm not just talking an IT or you know, digital distraction. There's various others, and I think we live in that world where you know, it's people struggle to maintain focus because of and that's focus across anything that they make, whether it be work related, personally related, relationships, anything like that, due to the amount of distractions there are out there. And I think that's kind of the message, and a lot of the imagery and things that, if you look at I don't know, for people who use Spotify, we used Angela again to do the canvases per song. So when you bring a song up, it has a different piece of artwork according to the song. And it's, you know, if you go and look at some of them, I think they're very fitting to the titles of the songs on the album, but also just to, you know, this day and age in general. A lot of people, I think, could relate to them. So that was part of the story.
We've never been so connected but so divided, have we? And there's so much competing for your attention now. How can you maintain focus?
Yeah.
Crazy times we live in.
What is it about Prog that's so unique? Why does Prog exist? I mean, it seems to have more soul than a lot of the pop music, that's for sure. So
Yeah.
what do
I
you
think
guys
the
think?
people who embrace prog as a genre have a different connection to the music than, you know, other music out there. That's what I found. Even at the level that we operate at, you know, the fans are, you
So
know,
keen.
they're crazy for the music, and
Mm.
it's incredible to see. One thing I want to do with this project, I'm going to say this band, is continue to generate music, but appeal to, you know, draw people into prog to see what's, you know, doesn't have to be a sinister word. It can be something that you can listen to that's got the earworm melodies, that's got, you know, it's got enough to draw you in and keep you hooked
Yeah.
without, you know, those kind of negative connotations that
It's
people may
not
have with prog. And
it's not just
so
Mellotrons and capes, is it? It's
exactly
really
that.
it's really broad. It's an exciting adventure. When you pick up a new CD, I don't know, from Stuckfish or from Nick Fletcher, you're going to get something different. You're going to get something progressive, and you're going to get something exciting.
Cool.
It's just a big, wide well of music.
Yeah.
And I'm glad
Yeah,
we've
I just
discovered
did
it.
an interview with Nick Fletcher. That's an amazing album he's got out.
It is, yeah.
We're just about out of time. I don't have the paid version of Zoom, but I find that 40 minutes is usually just great. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we could do like Joe Rogan, do 2 hours and smoke cigars and stuff, but I find the format's just fine. You know, well, we're down to the last minute, so we better wrap up. You have websites or any just quick information you want to give out at the end of the video here?
We're on ageofdistraction.bandcamp.com. You can buy our digital music there. We've got a website, ageofdistraction.co.uk, and you can follow us on all the usual socials. We're particularly active on Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel for our music and our lyric videos as well. So if anyone's watching this, hope you've enjoyed what we've had to say about Age of Distraction and our debut album, Game of Whispers. You can look forward to more from us, and those are the channels you should follow to keep up to date.
Perfect. All right. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks a lot, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll keep in touch.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dean. Really
No
appreciate
problem,
it.
John. Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, Charlie.
Cheers,
Okay.
guys.
All the best. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now.
Take care. Bye
Bye-bye.
now.